Have you ever felt like there's a vivid fire burning inside of you, yearning to break free and illuminate your life? That, my friend, is your vibrant life waiting to bloom. Welcome to the Vibrant Life Podcast. We are here to empower women just like you to liberate that vibrant life, to live authentically, and to harness the power within.
Our journey will take us through the enlightening realms of energy healing, goal setting, spiritual awakening, and so much more. We're stepping into the light of self-acceptance, of owning our power and potential.
If you have been yearning to dive headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship, or awaken your spirituality, or simply make peace with yourself, your search ends here at the Vibrant Life Podcast. As we embark on this enlightening journey together, we promise to hold your hand through every step of your journey to a more vibrant life.
Your adventure to true empowerment and authentic living begins here. Tap into the vibrant life you've always dreamed of. Subscribe now and join us at the Vibrant Life Podcast. Embrace your vibrant self. Until then, shine on.
Shine on. Welcome back to the Vibrant Life Podcast. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Audrey.
And today we are talking about mom burnout. Yay, everyone's probably experienced it. So we wanted to dive in. I think this is a very relevant topic for everyone.
I'd kind of like to point out that this was not the topic we were going to start with today. And we both kind of ran into some issues this week that made us realize that we were not prioritizing our self-care. And the universe definitely let us know that that was an issue and we needed to focus on it.
Absolutely. So let's kind of set a groundwork. Mom burnout is when you are physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. And that can manifest in a lot of different ways. A lot of times it's short tempered, you're very emotional. You can have
a very big sense of overwhelm.
A very big sense of overwhelm. For me, it's just wanting to check out of everything. Every little thing makes me just want to tap out. I find myself numbing more. So what I mean by that is I'm, scrolling through my phone, or I'm playing phone games, or for me, it's reading. So when I'm reading 8 books and I know I have other things I'm supposed to be doing, but I just can't get the energy up to do it. That is one big symptom for me. So
I am probably on the same board with the phone scrolling. I noticed myself doing it a lot at the beginning of the week because instead of being present and feeling the emotions that were coming up for me, I decided to suppress them. And I do find myself the phone scrolling, watching TV that's really dumb.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And a lot of times for me, it's a self-perpetuating cycle. So that's when I find myself watching like true crime, things I have no business watching because then it freaks me out. And it also just makes me sad that that's where the world is and that happens. And so then it's like, oh, that makes me depressed. And then I just sit on my couch and do nothing. So it's just this like doom spiral
It's a spiral of I've got things that I'm feeling, I don't want to feel them. And then you latch onto something else.
Yes.
That makes you feel something extra unnecessary.
Right.
So it's like, fair enough.
Yes.
So what makes you know that you're having mom burnout? What are your symptoms? Do you do the same things? Do you have other things that you might be able to identify that might be a sign that you're burnt out? Yelling at the kids?
Yes.
That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
If I am very short-tempered and yelling at them, I know that some self-care is lacking.
Yeah, and lack of motivation to do anything. Lack of motivation is a big one for me. So I have all these things that I want to do. I just can't get the energy to do it. Yeah. And that includes doing fun things with my daughter. So I might have an idea of like, we're going to go have a picnic at the park or whatever. And I'll set that at the beginning of the week. But if by the end of the week I'm feeling overwhelmed, we're ordering pizza in. Yeah. And again, it's that perpetuating thing because then I'm not hitting my goals, or I'm feeling guilty because I didn't serve a nutritious meal, or I'm not giving her the attention she wants. And that just feeds into the overwhelm that I'm already feeling.
And then that can kind of make it even worse. It is that cycle. So what are things we can do? So we kind of know what to identify.
Right.
What things are you doing that are your signs, your ding, 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 it's time to do some self-care. So that's kind of how you identify it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to get out of it?
Yeah. So for me, I am a very visual person. So I found this exercise that I have been doing probably 6 years now. Actually, probably even longer. It wasn't mom burnout in high school, but I remember in high school trying to juggle all the things. And this is when I created this kind of 4-column chart that I make. So for me, it takes a moment of reflection. And for me, I just dump everything out on a piece of paper of like, what am I expecting of myself? because usually it's too much. Usually I have these expectations of myself that are way up here, and most of them are not necessary. So the first thing I do is just get it out on a piece of paper. And then I start to go through each line and I say, okay, this is the expectation I've set or a task I've set for myself. And then I start to evaluate that one. Like, is that a keep? Is that a delegate? Can I put that off to someone else? Can that go into a bucket for later? Or can I just stop doing that entirely? Because I think sometimes burnout comes when we're continually adding onto our pile and we're not intentionally taking it off, and we're also not being really aware of how much we're taking on. And so I go through each line, and it's amazing how many of those I can just be like, this isn't going to be part of my life in the near future. Like, I'm just stopping for right now. And it's maybe not I'm stopping forever, but I'm stopping for right now so that I can create time to practice self-care, to just relax. That's a thing that you can do. and that's a learned skill.
That brings up a great point. I think I need to get into more of an anecdote of explaining, because I don't work like that. I love that those work for you. For me, I didn't know that self-care was even something that you were supposed to do. I don't think society teaches moms that they're supposed to care for themselves. I think it's more prominent lately than it was when I started parenting 10 years ago. So now I'm thinking about how big my oldest is getting. But when I started parenting, I did not know any of those things. And so I took on all the responsibility. I wanted to make sure we were doing all the fun things. We were eating as good as we could. We were limiting their screen time. And then I don't know, it just perpetuated into, okay, I've got one kid, I'm juggling all the things, and I'm short-tempered, I'm not patient with my children, I'm frequently yelling, always feeling overwhelmed, always feeling like things are hard to do. I got to my third kid, and I went to see, I think I mentioned this before, Kristen at Breathe, and she's like, well, what are you doing to take care of yourself? I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing to take care of myself? And she was like, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. So for me, that was when it started, that I even recognized that I needed to take care of myself, and I didn't know what self-care looked like. So over the last 5 years, I have cultivated a routine of things that I can do. They're not things I do all the time. They're not things I do consistently, but I have a toolbox.
Yes,
I have a toolbox of coping skills, and I pull them out when I need them, as I need them.
Okay.
So I'm a little less listy, but sometimes you need to be really listy. It's really good to know what your personality is. Yeah,
and for me, my self-care has to start with the mental. Because for me, I personally take on too much, and it's all in my head. Like, it's not expectations that others are necessarily putting on me, but it's ones that I'm putting on myself. So for me to even get to a place where I can pull out my coping skills, I have to recognize what I can get rid of. And so I think we go about it different ways, but we get to the same result.
Yep, absolutely. So this week, now I'm going to share a cringy story. So this week, I was getting signs that I was doing too much. And I pulled out at one point, was like, no, that doesn't resonate. I am doing just fine. I have an awesome job. I'm working it. Like, I'm getting out and doing fun things with the kids. We've been busy every weekend. I'm starting a podcast with my friend. I was like, I got this. Everything's fine. And then the universe told me I needed to stop. I did not listen to the first few signs. My signs were I was breaking things. I had an angel fall off of a shelf and it shattered its wings. And like, I dropped a makeup palette. And so for me, when I start dropping things, I stop a little bit and say, hey, what's happening here? I'm not on the right path, or something's off, but being too busy wasn't one of them. So then I decided to move some furniture, and I hurt my big toe really bad. I no longer have a nail on that toe, which is super cringe. Sorry, guys. But I literally had to stop, and I was having so much discomfort. I had to lay in bed for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I had to stop and do what am I supposed to learn from this? If this had happened to me 5 years ago, I would have been, oh, poor me. Why would that happen? This is terrible. It's a travesty. And then when it happened now, that was the first thing I thought was, what do I need to learn? What am I not paying attention to in my life? And so when I really thought about it, it was, you need to slow down. All the things you have in your life right now are things that you have manifested. You have a great job. You have improved your relationship with your husband. You're bringing in your vibe tribe. Your uncle moved here from Texas, which is something I've wanted to happen for a really long time. He's here. He's incredible. He's helping our family. He's here to watch our children grow. So that's amazing. And I wasn't enjoying it. I was in this mindset of, what am I going to bring in next? Oh, I'm working on the podcast with Cassie, which I've been thinking about forever, doing something like this. And so I've got all these amazing things. And then the universe said, stop. You're not enjoying it. Literally, stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point of where this mom burnout leads. If we ignore it and ignore it and ignore it, eventually our bodies will make us stop.
Yeah.
I know in the past when I've had a really busy season, I personally will get insomnia and that will knock me on my ass. And then it's like, you have to just stop.
You have to stop, or you'll
You
get
have to
sick.
stop, or you'll get sick.
Yeah.
Or there was one time I got the flu really bad,
Yeah.
where I was laid up on the couch and Gemma was 3 and I'm a single mom. So she was just kind of like playing around me. And I was just like, okay. But then she was like, Mom, that was such a great day. And I was like, it was not, but I'm glad you had a good time. But she thought it was great because I was too sick to even get off the couch. So I just ordered pizza and left it on the floor. And so she was just eating pizza, playing, snuggling. I was like, I'm so dead.
I'm dying.
But your body will
stop
you
Yeah.
if it needs to.
So there are consequences to not taking care of yourself.
For sure.
So what does self-care actually look like for you when you write down the things and you figure out what to delegate? But what things do you incorporate into your daily that
Yes.
make you?
So for me, I choose to do things that I call active self-care or positive self-care. So for me, I focus on what I'm eating, getting back to really good foods, because that's going to make your body feel better. Drinking water. That often slides when I'm not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Things like, I'm not a big journaler, but I know that's one that you can do. Sometimes I'll do it if I need to process through something, but that's not really one for me. I like to do meditations. I'll try to get outside more and really focus on just cultivating joy in the little moments. So I try to be really present, because when you're in a burnout state, you're not. You're constantly focusing on what's next, what's going on. And so kind of just getting back to basics for me. I will indulge in a spa day, fully 100% recommend.
Okay.
But I don't think self-care always has to be
It doesn't have to be those
floofy. Yeah.
Those frou-frou, go get your nails done, things like that.
Those are all well and good.
Yeah.
I totally support those, but
Yeah.
I think self-care needs to be a ongoing thing. And sometimes you don't have the money to spend on those froofy things. So you have to have tools in your toolbox that go beyond that.
Yeah. I was talking to you earlier this week, and I'd had this thing, I'm laid up in bed, and I said, I feel like we should talk about self-care this week instead of what we were planning. And I was like, I am scrolling my phone, I'm eating all the things, I'm just feeling a little sorry for myself today. And you had mentioned something about self-care, and I was like, yeah, well, I thought about meditating. I did eat a salad for lunch. And you said that I knew the difference between the two. I knew I had options, and I chose the self-care method that was best for me at that moment.
Yes.
And I did need to scroll and detach from everything and eat some comfort food that day. That was what was best for me.
Yeah.
So I love that you pointed out to me, because I was feeling a little bad about it, but you pointed out, no, you had a decision to make, and you made the best choice for you in that moment, which I needed to hear that. And then you know what I did the next day? I got up and I meditated to start my day. And that's a self-care thing that I usually do. In the morning, when I first wake up, if I want to feel present that day, I really need to get in touch with my soul in the morning. That's kind of the first thing I have to do. So I consciously start to come out of sleep, and I try to remember my dreams, because I feel like there is a lot to be learned from your subconscious thoughts while you're sleeping. And so I kind of get in touch with those. I try to figure out if there's any big messages or themes coming out of them, if there's anything I need to learn from that. And then as I start to wake up, I start to do Reiki. I don't know if anybody knows what Reiki is, but that is an energy healing modality that I've been into for the last few years, and I literally envision these cords growing from my body, or tree roots really, into the core of the earth. I connect myself in. I feel the energy from the earth coming back up. I balance my chakras. This takes 5 minutes when I wake up. So it's not like this super long process, but I envision that, connect to the sun, connect to source, and then just kind of envision my energy growing. And then I kind of pull it in and I kind of protect myself and just say that this is how I feel today. I know I'm going to come into contact with people who maybe aren't feeling like I am feeling today, and I want to be able to recognize what's mine and what's other people's. And so if I don't do that to start my day, which sometimes I don't, because sometimes I have kids come in waking me up, or somebody needs something before I have that chance to have that 5 minutes to myself, I notice a big difference in how my day goes.
I think that's a very good point of these self-care rituals don't need to be elaborate. They don't need to take a lot of time. You can find little pockets of time to sprinkle them in throughout your day, and they don't have to be this big thing. Mm-hmm. No. But that continual pouring into yourself, or I want to say watering, but that sounds so weird.
I'm watering the plant that yes. I am. Okay.
Like continually taking care of your needs, it pays off.
It pays off in the long run. And I think it's super important to figure out what little tiny things you can do for the day that you can kind of connect to. I think it's important to set boundaries on knowing that you need that self-care. So sometimes I do say to the kids in the morning, or my husband, I need to meditate. I need everyone to clear the space, and I need 5 minutes to just get in touch with my breath so I can be present.
And that's a big keyword we need to touch on, boundaries, because not only do we have to, kind of work ourselves out of this mom burnout, we need to have mechanisms that keep us from getting back into it. And as you said, it's okay to set boundaries with your kid. From the time Gemma was 18 months old, maybe, I started saying, Mom just needs to not be touched right now. Mm-hmm. I get overstimulated. Yeah. I'd get super annoyed by being touched too much. So I love you, but Mom just needs to not be touched right now. Give me 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. You can sit next to me. And I would give her options because she was little. And now she just gets it and she wanders away and she's like, okay. But I don't want to be climbed on. I don't want to be like, sometimes I love to be snuggled. This is not one of those times.
I say that too.
Not it.
Yeah, I say that too. I'm touched out.
Yes.
I'm touched out, or I will say, Mommy needs a timeout.
Yeah.
And I will put myself in timeout.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think instilling that in them too. Gemma has her little quiet corner where she will go, and just normalizing that it's okay to set those boundaries, not only with the people we love, but with our friends and with people we come in contact to.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, that Gemma is learning these things from you as well.
Yeah.
Right? I'm teaching my children as well that it's okay to take a break, to balance your emotions. I especially use it with my middle one. Your emotions are a little out there. We need to take a moment and we need to regulate. So if you need to regulate, you can do that safely in your room. We'll give you some time and you can rejoin the family when you feel like you can be nice to everyone again. It's the best way to put it. When you can be a functioning part of this family, you can come back out.
But yes, you've normalized it. It's not a punishment to her because she's watched you do it.
Yeah.
And, same for me. It's like, I just need to go into my room, or I need to, just sit here quietly and do me for a minute. I need to take care of me. And I think that's very powerful of modeling to our children that moms can take care of themselves, and that's normal, and that's healthy, and that's something we need to do.
And maybe something that wasn't modeled for us, which is just a generational thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're learning, as we're growing, we're figuring out some of these self-care things that are more important. I think. Instead of work, we're learning that you don't have to work hard to earn your break any longer. You can work as much as you want, and then you take the breaks when you need.
Yeah, it's talking about the generational. So my dad passed away right before I became a mom. And then my mom and I bought a house together and we were living together. And it was super interesting because we were kind of learning these self-care techniques at the same time. My mom is a mom of 5. She's an amazing woman. But as a family, it wasn't in our culture to rest. Even our vacations, we used to joke, like, I need a vacation from our vacation, because they were very active, they were very going. If we were skiing, you were expected to be on the mountain by the time the lifts opened, and you were there till they closed. We are getting the most out of our vacation.
Yeah.
And then after my dad died, our family culture started to shift a little, and we all kind of realized at once, oh, through this grieving process, we've learned that we really need to be gentle with ourselves. And then as we were healing, it was like, let's carry that forward. That was really great. So anyway, I was living with my mom, and we were both kind of learning how to rest, how to set boundaries at the same time, which was really cool.
Yeah.
My youngest brother was 15 at the time, and she, was learning to set boundaries differently than she did when I was 15, and we're 12 years apart. Yeah. So it's never too late. If your kids are older, you can still get burnt out, because they're always in activities. Your kids are always needing things from you. We're always putting expectations on ourselves. As women, just in general, we carry all these different roles that we have to fulfill. And so, it just starts somewhere. Yeah. Start with a glass of water.
Yep. Yeah.
Start with a glass of water.
It can be so simple.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe this is a good time for Cassie made an amazing podcast pile for this one.
This one is, it walks you through the self-assessment. So to identify if you are burnt out. And then I did include my 4-column list, because I'm a listicle lady. But if you're not a listicle lady, there's also a section that talks about setting boundaries and meditating, journaling. There's some journaling prompts in there. So we gave you a little bit of both, because again, Audrey and I approach things very differently with the same goal in mind. And so that just goes to show there's no one right way to take care of yourself. There's no one right way to be a mom or be an empowered woman. And so I wanted to include both of those in the podcast pal, because you might approach things differently. Your brain might work differently than mine, and that's okay.
I think we need some more examples of other ways that self-care can look. Have you guys seen those grounding sheets? You can literally ground into the earth. You haven't?
No.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So we all hold a charge. And so you can take the positive and negative tools and see that your body is holding a charge. When you touch the earth, your charge goes to 0. And so they've created these grounding sheets. You literally plug it into the grounding part on the outlet, and you can sleep on these grounding sheets, which will do the same thing as standing on the earth. So for me, if I'm all in my head and I need to not be in my head, I just go out and put my bare feet on the ground in the grass.
Nice.
And that will literally take your charge back down to 0, which can get you out of your head and make you feel good. So if you go outside and you put your feet out and just take a few deep breaths, it can take a couple minutes. It can be something so simple as that.
Yeah, and you can get your kids involved in that. I mean,
absolutely.
Go roll down a hill.
Yeah.
Or lay in the grass and look at clouds. I mean, so these things we can incorporate into our daily lives. But I love that example of one that's free.
It's free.
You need some grass.
Yeah.
Doesn't work in Iowa in the winter, but
another way to do it though is to get in the bath with some salts, some magnesium. You could use that as another way to ground you, to get you out of your head. It's not necessarily something you have to think too hard about, but you're like, okay, I know I need some self-care. I'm going to lock the door. I'm going to get in the tub. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to breathe. And even if it only lasts 10 minutes, can you imagine how much better you'll feel when you get out, because you've consciously made an effort to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And so we've talked about a couple of little things we can do, but let's talk about some of the bigger things. So, I've started meeting Monday nights with a group of friends, and that's something I prioritize because I need adult interaction. That's not my coworkers. And so prioritizing that, it's okay to do that, to have your spouse or a babysitter watch your kid once a week, to go do something for you. And whether that's with other people or if that's something just to yourself, give yourself permission to explore that. That might not be the best way for you to experience self-care, but that's okay to prioritize that. Another way that I really do prioritize myself is I love to read. So I know when I'm avoiding things with books, that's a negative form of numbing, but I do schedule days where I'm like, this day I'm turning off my phone and I'm going to read 3 books. And that is such a treat to me. It's such a treat. And that's okay to turn off your phone, to turn off notifications, to just remove yourself from the world. I think part of what contributes to the burnout that we have is that we're always accessible. Our parents didn't have that growing up.
Yeah, they
You had to
didn't.
call people on their landline. You didn't have somebody texting you. For example, I was in a meeting yesterday and I came back to 46 text messages because I'm in group chats. They aren't all to me. I'm not that popular. That can be overwhelming. I mean, our mom chat that one day, I think you said you were in a meeting and it was 96 text messages.
Yeah.
That's overwhelming, and when you're already overwhelmed, that just contributes to it. So there's some cool settings that you can do on your phone to kind of silence some of those. You can do your notification summary. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can simplify your life. Maybe we should do a digital detox.
A digital detox.
Oh my gosh, we're
love
gonna
it.
do it.
They were coming up with some great ideas. We mentioned boundaries with our kids, but I'm also thinking about the burnout you can experience from saying yes to too many things. And that was something I didn't learn until it's been a few years, but sometimes you just have to say no. Somebody's wanting you to do something and you're like, that sounds fun, but I'm overwhelmed right now and I just can't say yes. I can't plan. I can't do that.
Yes.
And it's okay to say no as often as you need to.
Yes, but also, like, if it is something that you're interested in, one way, I learned this in therapy, so I'm just going to spout this forward. But when you're saying no, but you want to do it maybe in the future, you can just say that. That can be part of your no of, I can't do that right now. Ask me again in 6 months.
Yes.
And it lets the person that's asking you to be on a committee or whatever know that you really do want to do it. You're not giving them the brush off, but I literally can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Another big thing that I've learned or had heard somewhere was with every yes, there's a no.
Yes.
And there might be multiple no's because we do have so many options in our lives today. So if I'm saying, yes, I will bring this friend a meal after baby, that's such a great thing. I love doing that. I love supporting my friends, but I'm saying no to maybe extra time with my daughter, or I'm saying no to meeting up with other friends, or I'm saying no to spending time at home. And that's okay if I choose to do that, but just being aware of what your yeses and your nos are.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
As well is another place that we can set boundaries, and with our partners. I know you've talked a little bit about that, of like reevaluating your relationship and coming to a place where you're both agreeing on those boundaries.
Yep.
But same with work. I mean, every time you have a review, or anytime you can say, you know, this isn't working for me, let's reevaluate those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can apply those in every area of your life. And that's a whole other podcast of how to set boundaries.
Yeah.
But it is essential to self-care, because if you keep saying yes to everything and you don't have boundaries, you're going to just continue to burn out.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Well, I encourage you all to take a look at the podcast, pal.
Yes.
And take some time to kind of evaluate what things you can take away, what things can you delegate, what things can you get rid of altogether.
And what self-care actually looks like to you. What feels yummy in your soul, because it's going to look different for each of us. And just remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really simple. You can just incorporate one thing, like a glass of water every day. If you're not doing that now, start there, or start with a simple meditation. You know, look into the Reiki meditation that Audrey was talking about. There's a lot of great places to start, and there's a lot of great resources, but the podcast pal is a great one as well.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you for tuning into the Vibrant Life podcast. We hope today's episode has energized and inspired you to live your best life. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so as to never miss an episode. And please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you more valuable content. Remember, your journey to Vibrant Life is ongoing. Stay connected with us on social media at Vibrant Life Society for daily tips, motivation, and community support. As we wrap up today's conversation, we encourage you to embrace each moment, pursue your passions, and prioritize your well-being. Together, let's create a life that radiates with energy and purpose. Until next time, live vibrantly. See you in our next episode.